How's it going, guys? We are here with another episode of Stock versus Not, and I do not think today's car really needs an introduction. I think we all know why we're here. We all know what this car is, but today we are in the 2002 Nissan Skyline, the R34 GT-R V-Spec 2 NUR, which stands for Nürburgring, believe it or not. But yeah, this is the car guy's dream car, the Nissan Skyline in the R34 year generation. What is that? That is the famed RB26 four-wheel drive. This one makes 336 horsepower in the stock form, 346 foot-pounds of torque, weighs 3,400 pounds, and it is Godzilla, as they used to call it. So, where does this land in the ranking boards in the stock configuration? It's going to be going against its younger brother, or is it a brother? I don't know. It's a GT-R, technically, kind of, sort of, let's argue, but Skyline versus GT-R, we all know how that conversation goes. It's going to go against the non-Nismo variant of the GT-R, which cut a 59.98 or 57.988, sorry, but that was with 588 performance points. That car makes 564 horsepower. With it making 336, it's probably going to be gunning more towards the GR Supra and the modern day Z cars. But without further ado, like I said, we already know what this car is. Let's just hop in and do some laps and see what it can do. And here we are in the driver's seat of what most car guys will wish to be in one day. And for this GT-R being the R34, it was jam-packed with some crazy technology that I'm not going to bother about really covering much of it, just because I'll probably miss most of it and I will get destroyed and judged with any type of misinformation. Now, the R34, how does it drive? It's fantastic. A little bit of body roll, a little suspension travel, nothing crazy, but it is making its way through these S's of Suzuka just fine. Just get around here. Yep. Can't ask any much more out of this car for stock. It handles great, and this car has always been infamous for being such a great car out the box. Those, 90s icons, early 2000s Japanese cars were just the heyday of manufacturing and technology for that country. But the R34 GT-R, what do I think of it? It is, of course, it's one of the dream cars that one of us has to own eventually. But believe it or not, and you'll probably get other people saying this, I am one of those who knew of this vehicle well before Too Fast, Too Furious came out. I have a pretty cool story about it, and it's up to you guys whether or not you want to believe me or not, if this is a true story or not, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Many years ago, and I'm talking, I was still probably in grade school, so we're talking early 2000s, like 2000, maybe like 2003 or so, like that early. I was with my uncle, who was a big car guy as well. He was more so in the German, like Volkswagen, Audi scene. We were all with him. He obviously had his car. We all were actually out at a, I think it was like a McDonald's or something like that. And we happened to see a guy on a car trailer with an R34. I can't verify whether it was a GT-R or not, but it was an R34 on a trailer. And I remember my uncle just breaking his neck looking at this thing. And me not quite knowing what the car was yet, he just goes, that's called a Nissan Skyline. Most of those things are probably out in California just with how they get shipped. But he goes, it's very rare to see one of those. So me being me, I was like, wow, Nissan Skyline, that sounds cool. So that name kind of stuck in my head, because I thought, wow, like Skyline's such a really cool name for a car. And then I got my first PlayStation, which was the PlayStation 2, and I got Gran Turismo, I don't know, maybe it was 3, I think, whichever one came in like the starter pack for PlayStation 2. We'll do one more lap while I continue the story. It was like the one that came with like Jak and Daxter and Gran Turismo, whatever one that was. Maybe it was 4. But anyway, got that game, and you know, as I started playing the game, I was like, oh, like let's see if this Nissan Skyline is in this game. And lo and behold, it was in there along with like 17 other variants of the car. So, you know, I obviously ended up buying the car once I built up enough credits and, you know, tuned it and made it fast. And that was actually one of the very first cars in the game that I hit 200 miles an hour with, and I thought, this car is absolutely amazing. And that's kind of how my story with, you know, knowing what an R34 Skyline was, through my uncle, and then, you know, discovering it within the game and what it was actually, you know, what potential it had. All right. So, very different, especially since we came out of those really fast newer GT-Rs and modern Zs. Car cut a 1 minute time around Suzuka. Obviously, it's not going to be breaking any records on the record board, but where does that put it in the leaderboard here? It is just behind the Supras, and it is faster than the Zs, so not a bad lap time, let's be honest. It is a 20-year-old car that makes 300 horsepower. It's not the newest one out here, but hey, it held its own. Let's go ahead and swap into the Bayside Blue R34, which is what the color combo that everyone needs to get. Bayside Blue was some sort of white wheel. I believe these are T37s because why not? This one is swapped with the VRH35Z, which is out of the, I guess it's the R92CP, that prototype car that you can get in this game, or Le Mans car. I don't know what it is. It's the race car. It's a V8, and we're now pushing 987 horsepower, 692 foot-pounds of torque, and with the weight savings, we're down to 2,300 pounds. Still all-wheel drive and turbocharged. You can see here my alignment settings along with the differential. The torque split down there is 50-50. Aero settings are here, and so on and so forth. And that's how I have the final drive of the auto settings for the transmission are set here as well. We do have the medium RPM turbocharger. That's the only thing that was available with this engine swap. But anyways, this car actually is not going to be in the 900 performance point range with the Nismos and the other Chevy products that were killing the leaderboard. It's going to hop into the 800 performance point, which actually is where the F-Type was housed, which was our leader for quite some time. So let's see what's going to happen here, because horsepower wise, this does make the most horsepower at 987, and it does weigh the least compared to like the Camaros here. So technically speaking, it might do something. It's still faster than the Ford GT that made 900 horsepower. The Stingray made 900 horsepower, but those were all rear-wheel drive or mid-engine cars that were kind of squirrely. This is an all-wheel drive monster. So I'm very curious to see how this handles. The ZR1, the C4 made 1100 horsepower. That was a riot. So yeah, I have no idea where this thing's gonna fall. So let's see what happens. We obviously have racing soft tires, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, R34 Skyline, probably would not be engine swapping it if I were ever to get my hands on it. The RB is such an iconic engine. It's almost like an insult to swap it with anything else for an RB. Even though I do believe, I forget his name, there is a drifter out there that has a R34 chassis. I believe his is a sedan though, and his is LS swapped. But that's obviously for drifting, and an LS for drifting on this kind of platform is probably a lot more ideal to have. Let's come through the S's here. This car is very composed through the S's. All-wheel drive and 900 horsepower is just a phenomenal thing. Let's get our time up. There we go. 50.619. I do not remember what our fastest time was. But let's just keep chugging along here, see what happens. Is this car going to dethrone the younger and more nimbler GT-R Nismo? We shall find out. I don't think it is. I think 50 is still, I think we're sub 50 now on our times. I should like pay more attention to the leaderboard. I have like really bad like short-term memory now, which is a little not too good to admit, but it happens. Oh, touched the grass. Oh, there he goes. Still one purple though, 50.479. Let's do 5 laps, see what we can get out of this thing. This car is actually very composed on this course. You know, step on the accelerator, it is pretty planted. So probably not a bad option if you ever need it for any type of like performance point race where you don't necessarily want to use like an actual race car and you're just trying to kind of beat the system a little bit, which I've done plenty of times. And it'll look pretty cool using an R34 to pass by some Group 4 cars or whatever it may be. Alright. There we go. 49.796. We're gonna zoom by the Ghost here. Now, this car actually has a lot better brakes than the newer GT-R. I do remember having to brake a lot more sooner. Granted, that did have like 1700 horsepower, but I feel like as soon as you get to like that 4-digit horsepower range, I feel like 200 is just way too late for you to brake. But you know, this is just a smidge under that mark. But and also it's a lot lighter too. Let's be honest. Although it's packed with technology, it's not packed with as much as that newer GT-R. Come on, this last turn. Hit some cones. Oh, you know what? I was in the wrong gear. That's why. What the heck? I didn't even notice that. Okay, I was like, why did it bog down so much? Okay, let's get this done correctly now. Yeah, I was like, why did I not get off the exit of that as nicely as I used to? I've gone quiet. Although this car is very easy to drive, I'm just extremely focused. This car's a joy to drive. Setup is perfect on this thing. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. $49.119. Looks like optimum would have been a 48.846, but you know, that's all she wrote. Where does this put us on our leaderboard? 49. Oh, I don't think it made it. Oh no, it did make it. Here it is, number 8 at a 49.119. So it almost beat the Jaguar F-Type. So yeah, that's yeah. Look at me almost calling it there. So that's very interesting. So 49.119. Yeah, just about. So technically speaking, if I did hit the optimal, it would have beat the F-Type. But that is the R34 GT-R, which actually, Dave, I know you had actually requested this instead of doing the Valkyrie. That's why I haven't done the Valkyrie, because Dave said no Valkyrie, do the R34. So R34 is here. It actually worked out because the R34 was part of the brand Central. This is now technically the last new Nissan that we are doing for Stock versus Not. However, I do have a special episode coming up because Dave also requested it. He's a subscriber and he had asked me to do one. So I have one more Nissan product that is kind of outside of our usual scope for Stock versus Not, but that'll be in the next episode. So let me shut up and get onto that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.